After Game 2, OKC gets a much-needed win in OKC to tie it up and make this a series tied at 1-1. How will both teams respond with the next two in Indy? Let's find out. Welcome back or welcome to America's Sports. I am your host, Ty, and thank God we've got a tied series. Some trends on both sides, Indiana and Oklahoma City sides, that I thought would end in the NBA Finals have remained true. Like, for instance, Indiana has gone each round of the playoffs in one game won, no matter where it was. Another crazy trend that hasn't ended, if the Pacers score 110 or more, they win. When they score less than that, they lose. That seems to be the magic number for Indiana. And also, on OKC's side, OKC has not lost 2 games in a row, and that's important for winning a series. Meanwhile, they have not lost a Game 2, and matter of fact, a lot of the Game 2s ends in blowouts for them. While I don't know if I can call Game 2 in the finals a blowout per se, it was definitely a more dominant performance. So if these trends keep on, there's another one that Indiana should be worried about a little bit. The fact that they haven't won a Game 3 yet. Playing in Indiana for Game 3 you think would give them the advantage, and it probably will give them some sort of advantage, but it really hasn't mattered. But in terms of winning and their style of play, it really hasn't mattered where they have played at. It's been pretty well known for some time now that the winner of Game 3 in a big series goes on to win the series most of the time. Well, Indiana has lost Game 3 in every single series that they've been in this year, and they still come up as the victor. So they have bucked a lot of trends that we see in these NBA playoffs, but they have kind of started their own sort of significant trends as well. There's some things that Indiana needs to clean up, but there's also a lot of things for Indiana to look at in a positive light. And it's the same thing for OKC. There's things that need to be cleaned up on the OKC side, but there's a lot of positive that you could look at as an OKC fan as well. So if you're Indiana, you're thinking, the series is tied. We haven't played our best ball if you're Indiana, and we get to play the next 2 in Indiana, 3 of the next 4 in Indiana. So, hey, if we just win our home games here, we'll win this series. And if you're OKC, you're saying a lot of the same things. Hey, look, we haven't played our best ball yet. Jalen Williams really hasn't played up to at least what we saw in Minnesota in that series, and at the end of the Denver series as well. Cason Wallace has yet to hit a 3. He's over 5 in the first 2 games of the NBA Finals so far from 3. Whether at home or on the road, Jalen Williams has remained elite on the defensive end. It's about hitting shots on the offensive end. He's also an underrated playmaker, and he's going to do that. But I think he's very well suited around a guy like Isaiah Hartenstein for this to help him. And that's what I want to see a little bit more of moving forward. Easier buckets from Jalen and a little 2-man game with him and Isaiah Hartenstein. And in all honesty, I do think OKC has been the better team. They've led for 95% of this series so far. I know the first 2 games are in OKC, obviously. But yeah, the Pacers have led for about a few minutes total. Individually, they've done a good job on just about everybody except for, I would say, Miles Turner, TJ McConnell have really kept them in these games. And then in Game 1, Halliburton hit the shot. When you go back and you rewatch, and when you go back and look at the stats, that's what kept them in it. That and the fact that OKC got out-rebounded like crazy. I don't think they should have changed the starting lineup. You're not going to convince me otherwise. I don't care. Hartenstein should be in that starting lineup. Without scoring and without the box score, Hartenstein affects the game in many ways. In this series, there's nobody who's going to be a bigger threat at getting rebounds, and especially offensive rebounds, than Isaiah Hartenstein. I think you do play more into Indiana's game when you don't play him less minutes and when you don't start him. Not to mention, he gives Shai Gilgeous-Alexander some wide open shots by being a great screen setter, and you have to worry about him on the lob, especially when Jalen Williams has the ball. They are great at setting people up. I don't know, I thought it was a mistake. If he plays more fourth quarter minutes, they can stop getting all these freaking offensive rebounds that Indiana is getting in the fourth quarter. The rebounding kept Indiana in the game. Miles Turner got hot, and then Tyrese Halliburton finished it off. That's what happened in game one. I do think that if Hartenstein was the starter, they'd be up 2-0 right now. Through 2 games on OKC, only Aaron Wiggins has a better plus-minus. And if I were them, I would switch the lineup moving forward. I'd go back to my original lineup, and then I would bring Kaysen off the bench. And you can't have Kaysen, in my opinion anyways, you can't have Kaysen Wallace and Lou Dort not giving you a whole lot offensively. You just can't have it. At least not consistently. I think it just makes sense to do that. You got to get Jalen Williams going more, and you got to get Hartenstein more minutes. Same with Aaron Wiggins. That's my 2 biggest factors, even if you have to give Kaysen a little bit less. And I'm not sure if I would play Isaiah Joe very much at all. On the other side, you would like to see Tyrese Halliburton get a little bit more involved with the offense other than just bringing the ball up the floor. We mentioned in this final series preview that we would like to see Halliburton try to get to the line a little bit more, and that still stands. Miles Turner has been very efficient, but most of it has been from inside the three-point line of his efficiency. His problem has been that he's averaged more than 4 turnovers throughout the first 2 games, with no defensive stats in Game 2. That plays a big part of it. I'd be willing to bet you that this changes, though. Turner will have some defensive stats, and his turnovers should go down. I'm looking to get Mathurin a little bit more involved. I'm looking for him to get more minutes, and I think Obi Toppin should get 20-plus from here on out. He seems to be a pretty good matchup problem. There's not been a Pacer to score 20-plus points yet in these first 2 games. Pacers have been really good at being able to balance things out to where there's not really one guy you can key on, even though there are, they do have a big 3. And that's a really good thing for Indiana because it's hard to game plan against a team where anybody could go off on you. You could name 7 guys. 7 to 8 guys have 10-plus points is not only is it not unheard of, but it's pretty common. So on offense, other than getting Mathurin and Toppin more involved, I think just keep kind of doing what you're doing. You would expect Siakam to play better than he did in Game 2. So I'm going to go off those expectations and think that we have a much better offensive output in Indiana at the very least. However, we know Game 3s have been our struggle point, so we want to get out and get moving real quick, real early. We want to set our tone for Game 3. We cannot botch Game 3. In my opinion, the Pacers, they lose Game 3, this will be the first time that their backs are against the wall. And it's not that I would be betting against the Pacers at this point. I just would be betting for the Thunder at that point. But defensively, I don't really know what that answer could be. Maybe you could try putting Nesmith on him more. Now, if you want to go and try to cut off the head of the snake, you go Nesmith there. But I really think Jalen Williams will do a lot of damage to Nembhard there. And maybe you're okay with that. Maybe you would rather it be Jalen Williams. But in my opinion, Shai's always going to get his. So if you get Jalen really hot as well, I think that's more of a problem. So I really don't think sticking Nesmith on SGA is the answer, but you could do it more often just to kind of change things up. So, finally, what do I think is going to happen? As of right now, OKC is favored by about 5.5 points, and I like that. And the over-under is 228.5. If that's the case, then you would like the Pacers. You would either like the Pacers or you would like the Thunder to win by, 10, 11 points. OKC is shooting better than they have against anyone so far from 3, except for against Minnesota. They're shooting about the same. So it tells me that OKC has kind of gotten out of their 3-point shooting slumps, although they will probably slump a little bit here and there. But now that those trends have kept going, I like OKC to win Game 3. I really do. And then I think Indiana will win Game 4. We'll come back after Game 4 and we'll talk more about this. But I do think we're going to head back to OKC and the series is going to be tied 2-2. And I think both these games coming up are going to be somewhat close. I think OKC will win by about 8. or so, give or take a few points. And then I think the Pacers win in a close one in Game 4. But anyways, guys, what do you think is going to happen on these next 2 games? Be sure to leave your comments in the comments section below. Give this a like and share this with people who love, basketball and sports in America. But until next time, guys, you'll see me in the next one.